Coach, coming into this week against Kansas, how are all three of your quarterbacks, and who do you think will play this week?
Yeah, we'll see. They're healing up, I think. So I don't know if we'll have all three available for this week, but soon we will. So we'll evaluate them all during practice and get everybody a bunch of reps like we've been doing, and make a decision as the week goes on.
Cliff, how much has Allen been able to do?
More and more. I wouldn't say he's full go yet, but he's been easing his way back in. So we're obviously going to be precautious and make sure he won't be out there until he's 100%. Such a rare injury that we want to be overly cautious, if you will, and make sure that he's protected and safe out there.
From what we've seen Thursday night and then when he was in here Sunday night, it looks like he's throwing without any pain or discomfort. Is he kind of chomping at the bit? And
yeah, he is. I mean, he can throw, he can do all those things. Obviously, it was an internal injury, and so it's a unique thing for us, and we're just making sure that he's 100% before we put him back out there.
And so has he not really done anything in a team setting then yet, in terms of like 11 on 11 in pads?
I would say that's fair.
Coach, looking ahead against Kansas, what's really stood out to you about their scouting report and after watching some film?
Yeah, I just think, they've made a big jump from last year to this year, not only personnel, but the way they're executing. They lead the country in turnover margin, which is a huge indicator of success, and they play hard every week. They have great coaches, great schemes, and they're right there. I think when you look at some of those losses, it's close going in the fourth quarter, and they're fighting and scratching and clawing, and ball hadn't bounced their way, but they're a much improved football team from last year, and we're going to have to play really good.
How's their change at offensive coordinator in the past week? Does that affect your preparation at all?
Yeah, I think it has to. You go from watching film on a certain coordinator and what he's been doing all year to not really knowing what direction they're going to take it with Coach Beatty and whoever else is calling it. So I think you definitely have to be prepared for anything.
And what sticks out to you about Puka Williams on the
dynamic playmaker? When the ball's in his hands, can make people miss. Very talented player, and he's really kind of taken this league by storm.
Cliff, on the offensive line, obviously you expect guys to be next man up and everybody ready to go, no excuses. At the same time, to what extent is it a challenge when you look up and from a big portion of that game the other night, you have a center, left guard, left tackle, all of the guys who are not normally are in there. How big a challenge is that, particularly given on the road against a defense that is ranked #1 in the conference?
Yeah, that was tough. I think you can take being defeated in some physical matchups, maybe, if they beat you on a pass rush move or you get overpowered at the point of attack on a run play, you can handle that. It was the pre-snap penalties. It was the lack of execution on some other things that was disappointing. You got to have the next man up mindset, and that man has to be prepared to go. And I didn't think mentally we were as locked in as we needed to be when some of those guys were called upon.
How did you feel about Jacob in particular, since you indicated that he started based more on merit than on injury?
Right. I think he's a guy who, he started, I think, the first 3 games last year, and he's a guy we felt like at any point we could move back in there if we needed a jump start or needed to push somebody, and that's what he did. He was solid, came in and executed at a high level.
Back in watching the TV replay of the game the other night, Kirk Herbstreit and Joey Galloway were lavishing praise on you for your play calling late in the game. And I think Herbstreit in particular was saying that you held some things back, like the deep throw to Antoine and the quarterback draw for Jet until just the right time. Can you kind of go into what makes a play the right call for the right time, and how do you decide when to do that?
I mean, you always want to start fast, but you want to get a feel for what they're doing, and so that was one of those deals where we felt like we had some big plays in our back pocket. We couldn't get a read on him in the first half, really, for a number of reasons. We were moving backwards a bunch. We were in 2nd and 15, 3rd and 15 with all those pre-snap penalties, so you couldn't get a true feel for what he was running coverage-wise or what he was doing defensively because we were so off schedule. And I felt like in the second half we got more of a rhythm, picked some spots where we thought we'd catch him in a certain defense, and luckily we did. It wasn't the case for most of the night, but we happened to call the right play at the right time 2 or 3 times.
And what kind of conclusions did you draw about Jet's play, given how much of a struggle it was in the first half and what he did in the second half, to maybe feel like there's something there that you can build on?
Yeah, there's no question. I've always known that about Jet. Dynamic playmaker, mentally tough, no question. To be able to kind of pulled from that game, to have to watch it for a series and then come back in and lead his team to victory on the road against the best defense in the conference statistically, says a lot about who he is as a competitor, and you can build off that. Got to be smoother in some of our operation, our decision making, things like that, but he's just a redshirt sophomore, so he's got a lot of growth and a lot of upside, there's no question.
Coach, as a head coach of a team, how do you process a game like that whenever the offense isn't playing as well as it normally does, but you still win a close game when the defense is stepping up?
I mean, anytime you win in this league, you're thrilled to death, and was really proud of everybody's effort, the fight, the determination. So offense made plays when they had to. We got to be a lot better on that side of the football moving forward, and hopefully, getting some of these players back will help that. But, yeah, you're just thrilled anytime you get a win in the Big 12 Conference. It's quite an accomplishment.
Do you feel like this team is built to win in different ways, whether it's the low-scoring one like TCU, where the offense has to score a lot of balance?
That remains to be seen. TCU has had their struggles offensively this year, so we need to do that against, obviously, one of these top offensive teams before I can really make that comment on that.
And do you know the identity really of this team yet? It just seems like they've played so many different ways in the different games.
I just think resilient would be the only thing I've seen that I can put my finger on. They'll fight, they'll play hard to the end, and so you can work with that.
How much has Antoine Wesley stepped up in the absence of T.J. Vasher these last few weeks? Would you say he's adequately really just carried the load of?
He's been incredible. He really has. His work ethic. When you watch him and walk through, the focus and the attention to detail from walkthrough on is through the roof. It's how you want all your wideouts to prepare and practice, and then it carries over the game. So he's a great role model for all those young wideouts. Just the way he handles his business on and off the field, it's been impressive.
Where has he specifically improved coming into this season?
Yeah, I think that's it. Focus. We moved him back outside, and since we did, his attention to detail, his work ethic, his preparation off the field, the film study has been through the roof, and it shows up on Saturday. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He's not thinking, he's just going.
Obviously, the defense has improved a lot this year, but specifically for Adrienne Frey, what is it about him that has made him able to have the success that he's had?
Yeah, I think he's a very good athlete. He's a very good, very skilled athlete. He played receiver in high school as punt returner, so he's great around the football. And then, highly, highly competitive. I got to see it last year on the scout team. He challenged those receivers. We had a bunch of guys who are playing in the NFL right now, and he'd go up and challenge them and wouldn't back down. So I knew he was competitive, and he's just worked at it, prepared the right way, and you're seeing the results on the field.
You mentioned the resiliency a couple times, and the dog kind of mentality. How have y'all established that? How has that come to be in this team?
Yeah, you got to go through some rough times together. I think a lot of these veteran players, particularly on defense, have been through a lot. Jay Sean and Dakota and these guys. Jordan, been here 3 or 4 years. So you go through it together. You keep working. Coach Witt does a tremendous job of the mental toughness side of things during the off season. But I think just going through the battles together, taking your lumps, and continue to persevere, that kind of builds that resiliency in that group.
How are some of the health on the offensive line? I'm sorry if it was asked if I didn't hear it, but Paul and Travis, where are they at?
Yeah, they're working back in. I'm not sure exactly who will be available, but they're getting more work than they did the previous week. So.
And then coming up with all the turnovers last week, obviously, I mean, but how big is that with that being such a big part of the defensive culture here?
Yeah, that's huge. That's what we want to see. Coach Gibbs has brought that mindset. We talk about it. We work on it at practice a bunch. And so to get those turnovers the way we did in crucial times was, that's the key to our success.
What do you really want to see from your team that can get back to what you saw maybe against like Oklahoma State, where the offense and the defense were both kind of clicking at the same time?
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Both units rolling. Offensively, it just hadn't been very smooth the last 2 weeks. Had Allen knocked out against West Virginia, and we battled, but it wasn't a very clean performance execution-wise. Had some turnovers, and kind of the same deal last year. Last week, too many penalties, not the level of execution we expect. And so that's what we got to do offensively. I think defensively, continue to build on what they've had starting that second half of the West Virginia game, and we'll go from there.
Cliff, who did you give first-team reps to today at Z?
Today at Z was Caden Leggett and Mila Royal. So those guys are going to work in there. Still having Dalton Rigdon rep as well, so kind of work through those three guys, have a little competition there at Z, and then hopefully TJ can go on Saturday, but remains to be seen.
What has Caden's progress been like to this point?
It's been good. I mean, we'd still like to redshirt him if possible. That rule gives us a little bit of leeway now, but very competitive, great when the ball's in the air, wants to be a really good player, works at it, so he has some things that are going for him. What
would you say Dom has done since sitting here after game one? You were pretty critical of how he did against Ole Miss, and it seems like ever since then he has been kind of in a groove.
He stepped up. I mean, those two last week really won us that football game, and that's what we expect. That's what we see in practice. That's what we know he has the ability to do, and when you have that ability, it's got to translate to the field, and we're really proud of him. He's taken what he does in practice every day to the field, and that's a big step.
Have y'all done anything differently with him, or is it just execution?
I think just, year two, things calm down, it slows down. He's able to control his emotions a little bit, and he's executing at a high level.
What did Tony Jones do the other night? How did he get? What did he?
He had a lower leg something, so I'm not sure if he'll be ready or not. I don't think it's too serious.
So if it's not, just more snaps for Colin then?
Yeah, Colin will get more reps.
How important are those runners to a punter? Because I know obviously you'd like to down it where you want it to be down, but to have those guys to be able to run down there and kind of get it in the spot you want it to be.
Yeah, especially in the Pooch game. We want to get it down as close to the goal line as possible, and they're one of the big factors in that. So especially in the open field game, we're going up against returners like Turpin, and the worst thing you want him doing is taking a touchdown to the house. So having those gunners on the side, you need to put them have as much pressure on the returner as possible.
We always talk about the offense and the defense, what the keys to winning and everything are. Do you think the special teams kind of gets overlooked sometimes about this last game, what that can really do to how the outcome of the game goes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the past, special teams has been a factor in wins and losses, and I think it's one of those overlooked teams that doesn't really get the credit sometimes. But this year, I think special teams has really stepped up and doing its job.
I feel like they factored in, for this week.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter who we're playing. Special teams is always going to be a big role, no matter who.
Dom, how much pride do you take in the fact that last year Turpin had 0 return yards, and this year I think is 4 or 5?
So Turpin's always the guy on the calendar I look forward to every year. He's been tipped as one of the best returners in the country, and as a punter, that's a thing that you strive for to do well against. And getting 0 yards against him, I really wanted to back that up again this year. Unluckily he got 4 yards on me or 5 yards on me, but I wish it was 0, but I still got the job done, and we just want to limit the returner to as less yards as possible.
Do you feel like, are you doing that about as well as you can? Because the longest punt return against you still in the entire time you've been here is only 12 yards, and I think that was one last year.
Mm-hmm. So that's the real big key to our punt scheme is limiting the return. So it's not about kicking your coverage. We can have 70-yard punts, but they're going to be returning 20 to 30 yards. So we try and keep it to what our returners can get to limit that return, so we can get good field position for the defense.
And it seems like Are you getting in kind of a groove with maybe the pooch punting, because you've had so many punts down inside the 20 this year? It seems like fourth down is coming up a lot where you're kind of in that range to give you opportunities to have punts down inside the 20.
Yeah, for sure. I really think the pooch game is my strongest part of punting, and I think I can rival anyone in the country when it comes to the pooch, especially coming from that Australian background and that Australian football. We've been doing this since we're 4 years old, so I'm really comfortable in the element of that pooch punt and getting it inside the 10, getting it inside the 20.
We talked about Turpin, and I think last year you didn't give up any return yards to the guy at Kansas State.
Yeah, Reed.
DJ Reed, yeah. Is there anybody else that you kind of have on your radar that you kind of have circled that you want to do an especially good? Obviously, you want to do a good job against everybody, but is there anybody else that's kind of standing out to you in the return game this year in the conference?
I mean, you just got to treat every returner as the same. You got to treat everyone as if they're Turpin. So you're going up against this week against campus people, not tipping them for a very strong team, but I've still got to treat it as if they have a really strong special teams to kind of execute our plan and be successful in that.
Let's thought of something else. Has Coach Shire done anything differently with you this year, or are you continuing to do sort of a similar plan to what you had last year with Coach Robinson?
It was fairly similar. Really, with him, my game's all mental. Being a kicker or a specialist is all about your mental game. So he's really good about keeping a real positive attitude. And before the game, he always tells us all just to go out there and have fun and just be ourselves. And I think that's really where the success is coming from. In regards to scheme and everything's kept pretty similar. That he's just utilizing us for our strength and what we can do best, and he just wants to put that out on the field.
And after the Ole Miss game, Cliff was kind of critical of you and kind of harsh in his comments.
Yep.
How do you feel like you bounced back from that? Was that hard to bounce back from, or did you shake it off easily?
Well, you can only use that as motivation. When your head coach is disappointed in a performance, the last thing you want to do is perform bad or do anything wrong by him. So the only thing you can do is kind of step up and just take that role and just take it on the chest and go out and perform the next week.
Deshaun, I guess just off the bat, what does 17-14 mean to you?
It means we're playing pretty good defense if you can hold any team in this conference to under 21 points. So we're taking steps in the right direction, but we got a lot to clean up. We were out of position a lot in that game. They just didn't hit us on it. So it's lucky for us, but we can't have that going on forward.
From your perspective, I guess, what does it mean to kind of hold a team to 14 points? Because I know you've been a part of this defense for so long. You've given up more, certainly, but I guess what is it like to know that you can do this?
It feels good, man. Guys are just doing what they're supposed to do, doing their jobs. We still got to get some more turnovers. But, I mean, they're coming a little bit, but we going on these next 6 games, we got to win the turnover battle each game in order to win.
Since you've returned, how much have you seen the defense improve?
I think we've improved week after week, honestly. I got things to clean up myself, just everybody. But like I said, we didn't get lined up a lot this past week, and we got to do that moving forward in order to keep winning.
What you noticed about this Kansas team when watching the tape? What has stuck out to you?
They're real good. They rotate a lot of quarterbacks. They have some 2 great running backs. Receiver that can run by you. He's a very quick twitch. They protect the ball well, and they turn it over on defense a lot. So our defense will have to find a way to get some balls out to give our offense a chance.
Just, John, if you had to give defensive game balls to 2 or 3 guys, who would you choose? Who do you feel like had the best games the other night?
I'd start out with Coach Gibbs. He does a great job with getting us in the putting us in the right positions. It's hard to single out Frey. I mean, he's been doing a great job all season, but I mean that's what we expected. I mean, he's done it throughout the spring, fall camp. He's done a great job of getting his hands on balls and making plays. And credit our D-line; they did a pretty good job of holding them up in the run game and forcing them to throw the ball a little bit.
Where were you on that play that Jordan got the interception in the end zone?
I was man on Turpin, I believe. Yeah, so actually we weren't lined up properly on that play as well, so it was just kind of something I just told Jordan. Jordan was actually supposed to be blitzing, and JP was supposed to be covering, but we didn't get it done. So I just told Jordan to take the tight end, and, I mean, he did a great job of doing that.
So y'all kind of improvised that coverage. Y'all kind of improvised that then?
Yeah, we did.
Was it after the snap, or she said he was supposed
right
to be
before the
blitzing?
snap.
Right before the snap?
Yeah.
So is that your kind of experience coming into play there?
I guess
To
you
be able
could
to
say.
recognize that? And
Yeah, kind of.
You mentioned the run game. What stands out about Puka? I mean, he's doing stuff yards-wise that not many people have done in the Big 12 through 5 games.
Yeah, he's not very big, but he runs really hard. He can make some nice cuts in and out the holes. He's very fast, one of their best players. We expect them to give him the ball and get him to make some plays for them. So we just have to do a great job of rallying to the ball and make sure we're wrapping up and tackling.
what was that last defensive series like when the offense gives you the lead and then you got to hold it for 2 minutes? And Robinson had that one play where he is completely wrapped up and then completes the pass against you, and Doug had the interception go through his hands. So when you're in your position, how do you kind of keep the guys focused and keep them going?
Just kind of tell them next play. I mean, he's a great quarterback. We knew he was elusive coming into it. So we tried to get to him, put some pressure on him. He made some good throws, and he did make a great throw on that one. But, yeah, Doug's one of our best DBs with hands. So, I mean, that was just uncharacteristic by him. He's kind of down on himself about it because he felt like he could have had a couple more earlier in the game as well. But, I mean, he's done a great job for us, and he'll continue to do the same. But as a secondary on that last play of the game, we got to make sure we stay on our guys. We turned a lot of guys loose, myself included. And if he would have had a little time to be able to set his feet and throw the ball, we would have came in there on Sunday very sad.
Instead, you're celebrating. How did that celebration compare to the one at Stillwater and the one in Austin last year?
I mean, they all mean a lot to us. Anytime you can go on the road and get a win is huge, especially in this conference. But yeah, I mean, it's over with now. We got a good Kansas team coming in here this weekend. We got to take care of business in front of our home fans, which we haven't been doing lately. So I think we owe them a lot, and we need to play good at home.
The play there where you got the horse collar tackle, how difficult is it in the heat of the moment to not do that?
It's difficult. I mean, they protect the quarterbacks very well, so I should have pulled up anyway. I mean, he was close to the sideline, so I'll take it. It's part of the game, but, I mean, I got to be smarter in that situation, especially right before the half.
Hey, Jason, you kind of touched on it, but, I mean, you're a senior leader, so I thought I'd ask you, why have y'all been so good on the road, away from the Jones, but then not at home? What's your theory?
We've been trying to figure it out, man. We've had plenty of leadership meetings with the Leadership Council, trying to figure out different things to do. We honestly don't know. It's been rough. It's very frustrating on our part, but I mean, we'll try to get it together. We got 3 more at home, I believe, so we'll take them one by one and try to give our fans a good show.
Is there any change to kind of what y'all do leading up? Have y'all changed anything as far as what y'all do leading up to home games, or no?
No, I mean, we've kind of took the same approach since I've been here, I believe. We kind of tweaked a few things. Sometimes we'll walk in from the back of the field. Sometimes we'll come just straight to the tunnel. I mean, it's nothing major. I mean, we just got to get the job done.
How much can it help with Dom's kicking the way it was this past week? I mean, how did that help you guys defensively against him, and how could it help you moving forward?
Yeah, it helps a lot, man. When you get to flip the field like that and pin them deep like that, it limits what they can do on offense. And with our front seven playing as well as they're playing, it's hard to run the ball. So that was pretty good. He's done a great job. I mean, he takes a lot of heat from Coach Shire because he expects greatness out of him, and he knows what he's capable of. And I think the other specialists do a great job of getting onto him as well when they know he's not doing or kicking as good as they know he can. But he did a great job. Pinned them deeps a couple times that we needed, and that was good to see.
How does it feel as the defense you knew it'd be better this year and everything, but to lead the team to victory when usually it's like, the offense is trying to keep, but whenever you guys can believe that going in, but once you've actually seen it on the field, how does that change?
I mean, that's been our ultimate goal since Coach Gibbs has got here. It was kind of give the offense a chance to win at the end, but now, I mean, we're all mature. We've all played enough snaps to where we have to be the ones to win the game, and we've done a great job. But like I said, we got 6 more. We got to play great defense in each one of those in order for us to win the game. Nah, I mean that's kind of outside of the field, but I mean, like I said, we owe our fans a lot at home, and we need to get the job done.
Sean, what do you think the biggest reason or reasons are that y'all have been so good defensively in the second half during these conference games?
Well, last year we all know that we didn't finish well. I mean, they've put it on all the walls in the facility, finish. That's all we've been emphasizing throughout the spring and fall camp. And, I mean, we've done a great job so far. I don't know why we decided to do it this year and not last year, but, I mean, it's over with, and, I mean, we'll just keep going forward from here.
I assume, is all the depth paying off? I mean, are you guys feeling fresher at the end because of the number of people that you're able to play on defense who have experience?
Yeah. We do feel good. We do have a lot of depth, so we rotate guys a lot. But, I mean, I think guys took the strength and conditioning part of pretty serious this offseason and this summer. So credit Coach Witt and his staff for that. I think everyone's in shape and they're playing like it. So, I mean, guys are out there flying around, and then when the twos come in, they do their job and do the same.